Okay, my friends, here it is. The video that is going to show you exactly what you need to do in order to best prepare the garden for the upcoming season. Because we are roughly 30 days, give or take, anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks before your last frost date is when you want to start doing this stuff. So I'm not going to say a lot of things right now. I'm just going to take you right out into the garden and show you exactly what I am doing to prepare for this season because planning is crucial. Okay, my friends, here is the garden 30 days, give or take, before last frost. And you can see it's kind of sad looking at the moment. Not a lot is happening. But now is the most important element of the garden planning. Because if you want this to be your garden mid-summer for all of June, July, August, and September, then it requires planning. Guys, every single plant in this picture is edible. This garden is bursting with life, bursting with produce. It's incredibly bountiful. All summer long, we are harvesting things. We are eating directly from the garden. We're grilling them out. But this all requires planning. If you want this to be you midsummer, it requires planning. You have to do it right. And so we start now. And where do we start? We start in the soil because the plant is an expression of what is happening in the soil. So in the fall time, I covered everything in straw, and the straw is starting to seed a little bit, unfortunately. So we're going to rake back the straw because for those of you that are utilizing the deep mulch method, the mulch definitely keeps things nice and insulated during the summertime from the heat, but it also keeps it nice, really cool into the springtime. So we want this soil to warm up. So we are going to rake it all back, and you can see some good biological activity happening under that mulch layer. That's why we keep it covered all winter long. But this bed in particular has become very clay-like. You know, I never tilled it. I never really amended much. I just added layers on top. So this year we're going to do a special kind of preparation for this bed. So we're going to pull the weeds. We're going to put them into the weed bucket for some tea, and then we're going to rake off any of the carbon source because we don't want to incorporate any of the wood chips or anything. Then we want to add our fertility, and here I am utilizing the Viking nutrients granular blend that I'm developing for you guys. And yes, I have some buckets available. If you want some, let me know. I could ship them out to you. But you can utilize any fertility that you have, bone meal, blood meal, that kind of thing, wood ash. Any of the benign fertilizers like the alpaca or rabbit manure. And then we're just going to incorporate it really well with the broad fork. This is important. You see how thick that stuff is? So we want to break all this up. And what we're going to do is take some of these are the potato bags from my grow bag video. And it's been about 3 years nonstop growing in these bags. So this is the last year. I'm going to take this soil that is actually peat moss and perlite and compost that I've had over the years, and I'm going to incorporate it into this bed now. We're going to rake it out, and then we're going to incorporate it some more because we want to get that perlite and we want to get that peat moss and that fertilizer mix into there, all right? Now, we're doing it a lot more than I normally would, but that's because we need to break up this clay. We need to get that stuff in there, and we need to aerate this. So you'll see exactly how we're going to do this. We're going to use the Asian hoe. I forget the exact name, but this thing is hard work, guys. So yes, we're going to take a moment and we're going to go into the chest freezer ice bath that I have in the basement. Guys, if you're not on the ice bath train, you need to get on it. And then we're going to go back outside and utilize some old scrap lumber. I'm all about reusing lumber. So when I build these beds, they're not like massive raised beds, like that cost a lot of money and that are 3 feet high and stuff. We just make it work. We're just going to utilize this wood, and we're going to make like a quasi-raised bed. It's only like 6 inches, give or take, because we're mostly using the earth. But you see, we're just going to define the parameters, and then we're going to put another couple bags of that or soil on top. You could use compost. You could use leaf mold. You can use topsoil at this point. But whatever you have, just utilize it. And so you see, this is the kind of bed I love right here, is where we just have like a 4 to 6 inches. It's mostly the ground, but it's going to help with drainage. You see, we built one about 3 years ago where the garlic is still holding up just fine, growing all kinds of stuff. We're going to rotate garlic with potatoes. So now is the time we're going to plant the cold hardy stuff. These are the Glory of Einkusen cabbage, and we're going to do them about a foot in all directions. Now I plant them pretty intensely, and that's how you get the best results. So we're going to do a foot in all directions. We're going to plant them nice and deep, bury the stem just a little bit, and it's important to not space your stuff too far, unless you're doing like row gardens, but I like to put it intensely. Here's some chamomile for pest deterrents and stuff, and for tea. I like to space it pretty intensely, guys, because that's what shades out everything, the soil. And so now here is the Cylindra beets. If you're not on the Cylindra beet train, you need to get on it, guys. And I like to bury them about 1.5 inches deep and pack that soil on top of them. And then we're going to water everything in. Now this is really important. I use the watering wand to really help secure the soil, to bleed out all of the air pockets. And so you want to water like this with a good water pressure. And we're doing the celery here, which I make juices from all summer long. We're going to do the cabbages. And guys, this is how we ensure success with that supercharged soil from the fertilizers, the granular organics. Next thing, we're going to plant the peas, and we're even a little bit late for the peas, but you can still plant them, no problem. So you want to dig a trench about 3 inches deep. I plant my peas like 4 inches deep, much deeper than most people. But this is the way I found is the best, because they will push up through that no problem, and they will be more drought and heat tolerant because of it. And so plant them every 2 inches, give or take, after you soak them for about 4 hours. And then I like to sprinkle some straw on top. Not very heavily, just enough to keep the soil moist and to keep the cat from rolling in it. And then after a couple of weeks, we will come back. You see, I made the same type of bed here, just a makeshift little bed that'll last a few years. And then they're going to come up like this. And as soon as they start coming up, then we're going to put the cattle panel trellis on there. Next thing, guys, if you're not going to plant right away, you want to get that mulch off of there and put down some black plastic. Here's the onion bed. And this, we raked off the mulch about a week or 2 weeks ago. And then we applied the fertilizers, the granular, the organic stuff. And then we just covered with the black plastic. And look at that, guys. This nice, rich aggregates in there. The soil is nice and loose and fertile and full of life, no doubt. And this is because we are planting it properly. And so get your soil heating up with that black plastic. It is super beneficial, all right? At this point, get the mulch off of there just for a while, but don't leave it exposed to the ultraviolet light. Next thing we're going to do 4 weeks before last frost, plant the marigolds, guys. These dwarf marigolds are these marigolds that you see right here. And I love these marigolds. Guys, marigolds are the #1 pest deterrent plant and pollinator attractor. So get planting a bunch of them. Right now is the time, because they only take 3 to 4 weeks before they're ready to plant outside. Next thing, any kind of wildflowers that you want to plant, now is the time to plant them. Direct sow them, and they will come up when the time is right, especially if they're native wildflowers. Go ahead and sow them, and then they're going to know when to germinate as soon as the weather becomes right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is take these potatoes, and we're going to cut some of the bigger ones, and we want to just let them dry out in the air for a few days. These big ones definitely we're cutting, and we want about 2 to 4 eyes per cut. So we're just going to cut them in half. They'll go further that way. They'll plant more, and we're just going to let those air dry for a few days. Now, these German butterballs down here, these small ones, we are not going to cut these. We're just going to plant these whole like this, because this is what's left of my German butterballs. So we're just going to put those. Now you see a few days later how it's healed. Now these are going to be ready to plant. In about another week, we're going to plant all of these, and we're going to have a bounty of potatoes. So there you go, my friends. That's everything you need to know. If you feel like you gained something from the video, give it a thumbs up. Also, share the video with anyone that needs this knowledge. Leave a comment. Whatever comes to mind, just share your thoughts. Also, I will see you right here every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Time for a live Q&A where I can answer whatever you want to ask me. Also, check out the links in the description for all kinds of good stuff. My Amazon storefront is where I've compiled everything that I use for you guys, and any shopping that you do on Amazon through that link, this channel gets the credit for. So I would much appreciate that, my friends. I'll see you next time.